Greetings! Today we will embark on a fascinating journey back in time to the dark chapters of history that shaped the destinies of the Romani people across Europe. Kings, popes, and archbishops issued decrees that sought to suppress the Romani language, culture, and freedom. What led to these cruel punishments? How did whipping, tongue-cutting, and burning become part of the daily life of these people? Today we will look at three key countries that shaped the history of the Romani people and uncover how kings and church powers participated in their oppression. Get ready for a journey back in time when history reshaped the fates of thousands. Let's begin. Chapter 1, Spain, the decree that silenced the Romani language in the 15th century. In the 15th century, Queen Isabella I of Castile and King Ferdinand II of Aragon issued a decree aimed at silencing the Romani language and destroying their nomadic way of life. The Romani people were ordered to abandon their customs, adopt a new faith, speak a foreign language, and follow laws that were never their own. Those who disobeyed this order were imprisoned, exiled from the country, or executed. Simply speaking a word in Romani became a crime, punishable by having one's tongue cut off. Women who broke this prohibition faced public flogging. Their pain and suffering were meant to serve as a warning to others, so no one would dare resist. But the greatest pain was borne by mothers. Their children were forcibly taken away and given to Spanish families, where they were to forget their language, their culture, and their origins. Every Romani word was considered a sin, every melody an act of defiance, and any sign of resistance could have fatal consequences. Despite the cruelty of the decree, however, the Romani language and culture did not disappear. Where words were silenced, music was born. Flamenco became the voice of those whose speech had been taken. Every strum of the guitar was a cry of resistance. Every dancer's step symbolized freedom, and every clap of the hands was a gesture of courage. Flamenco was not just music or dance. It was storytelling without words, a story of pain, loss, but also hope and pride. In these sounds survived a language that was meant to be silenced and a story that was meant to be forgotten. Many years later, these melodies were heard again thanks to the group Gypsy Kings. Their music carries the soul of the Romani people, even though the words of their songs remain Spanish. The language may have been silenced, but the melody survived. The decree that was meant to silence the Romani language and destroy the identity of an entire nation instead created something that transcended centuries. A story written into the strings of the guitar, into the rhythmic steps of the dancers, and into the hearts of those who never forgot. And that is why today most Spanish Romani do not speak their original language. Their melodies survived in flamenco music, but the words, they remain Spanish. Chapter 2, France, the hunt for the Romani people, 16th century. In the 16th century, King Francis I of France issued a decree to expel the Romani people from France and silence their culture. The decree was supported by church leaders who saw the Romani as sinners and impure. The Romani were banned from entering churches. They were denied the right to pray, share sacraments, or attend services. They became outcasts in society and before God. But the Romani did not stay silent. They prayed under the open sky. The sky was their church, the fire their altar, and their prayers were songs carried by the wind. Yet the cruelty continued. Romani were hunted like animals. Soldiers were ordered to shoot them on sight. Camps were surrounded, wagons set on fire. As families fled into the forests, fear and suffering became their reality. But they found strength to continue. They took refuge under the stars, around the fires. As the persecution eased, they found new ways to survive and share their culture. They gathered in groups of artists, musicians, and acrobats. Circuses and street performances became their refuge, a bridge to those willing to listen. Every trick, every violin's tone, every dance was a quiet cry for freedom. The Romani turned their suffering into art, which spoke to the streets, squares, and later to concert halls. After generations, France became a cultural center where Romani music and art found a place. From this, not only nomadic artists, but musical geniuses emerged. One such name was Django Reinhardt. Born in Belgium, raised in France, his gypsy jazz guitar style influenced not only France, but the world. Django became an icon of both Romani talent and human resilience. Thanks to centuries of struggle and perseverance, France now loves and respects Romani culture. Romani artists, musicians, and dancers are celebrated in festivals and concerts across France. Their art is revered, their melodies fill the streets of Paris. France has become a place where Romani culture has not only found refuge, but also recognition. And so, when we hear the sounds of gypsy jazz today, or see the lights of circus tents, it reminds us not only of a cultural experience, but also a living history that refused to be forgotten. Romani culture in France today is not just history, but a living legacy which overcame centuries of oppression and still shines in music, dance, and the glow of fires under the stars. Chapter 3. When the dawn began, between the decree and the parchment, while in Spain the dark chapter of Romani history unfolded, where they were persecuted, exiled, and tortured, on the other side of Europe, parchments were being written that were meant to bring hope. In the 15th century, within the Holy Roman Empire, Pope Martin V issued protective letters guaranteeing the Romani people free movement, the ability to trade, and securing their safety. Similarly, in Bohemia, King Sigismund of Luxembourg confirmed these letters with his seal. With parchments in hand and hope in their hearts, the Romani people entered the lands of the Kingdom of Bohemia. No one could have known that this hope would turn out to be an illusion. In the first few years, they were welcomed. Blacksmiths brought invaluable skills that changed lives. Healers helped treat wounds that remained on both bodies and souls. Merchants brought rare spices, enriching not only the Bohemian markets, but all of Europe. The Romani people became part of the villages and cities. They brought skills that were valued, and society respected them. But as history has often shown, the favor of the powerful is fickle. And so, from safety, the Romani people found themselves in danger. And just at the moment when it seemed that their place in society was secure, the protective letters began to lose their value. King Ferdinand I, determined to strengthen his power, issued new laws. Nomadism, which had been part of their existence, was prohibited. They were settled in designated areas under strict control. They began to be labeled as socially dangerous, leading to their persecution and punishment. If the Romani refused to settle, they faced exile, torture, or even execution. It was the beginning of a new era of oppression, where the Romani were lost between survival and the loss of their identity. With the arrival of Maria Theresa, a ruler with a vision of a centralized state, The situation for the Romani worsened even more. During her reign, reforms came into play that aimed to destroy the Romani way of life and suppress their culture. Romani families were torn apart, their children forcibly taken and placed in Christian homes to forget their origins. Nomadism was forbidden. The Romani were forced to live in designated places, and everything they did was considered illegal. Those who refused assimilation were deemed unfit and punished. Maria Theresa and her reforms left a deep scar on the Romani identity that was difficult to heal. The Church, which was considered the protector of souls, remained silent while the Romani suffered. At this time, the Church not only failed to intervene as the Romani faced oppression, but also contributed to justifying their persecution. The Romani were viewed by the Church as unfit and heretical. Church leaders supported policies that led to their expulsion and oppression. And yet, despite all these hardships, the Romani survived. After many years, when the truth finally came to light, an apology came. Pope John Paul II was the first to publicly express regret for the suffering the Romani endured at the hands of the Church. This act of apology continued under Pope Francis, who proclaimed that the Church recognized its role in the suffering of the Romani. He entered Romani communities to share their pain and ask for forgiveness. But no apology could bring back the lost lives. Many still bear the consequences of this historical trauma. Yet the faith, strength, and forgiveness of the Romani are still present. The Romani survived. They overcame everything that was imposed on them. They believed that to forgive means to free the soul and move forward, not to remain in the pain of the past. To forgive does not mean to forget. It means healing the soul, lifting the head, and stepping forward with hope for a better future. That's all for today. This story was brought to you by Gitano Audio Stories Sidor, narrated by Maroszko Sidor from Belgium. If you enjoyed it, share it with your friends and subscribe. We want to spread our Romani culture, stories, and fairy tales. Your support helps us keep going. On our channel, you'll find more episodes, not just in Czech, but also in English. Help us share the beauty of Romani culture. Thanks for listening. We look forward to the next time. Follow us, share, and be part of the journey. Goodbye for now. See you next time.